I'm starting off with the Avatar, and I have a Farseer with 3 powers, which I'll be replacing from the rulebook. For troops, I have a 10-man Wraithguard squad with a Spirit Seer with Conceal. I've got 7 Pathfinders, and we also have a small squad of jet bikes with Embolden, 2 Shuriken cannons. For heavy support, we have 2 Fire Prisms, and lastly, we have a Falcon with a Bright Lance. It also has Spirit Stones and Vector Engines. Here we are at our deployment. We're playing the Emperor's Will battle. I am not going to attempt to seize. We rolled up a night fight for the first turn, and let's kick it off with Space Wolves moving ahead. This is the end of turn 1 before we start turn 2. Night fight had a big effect as it stopped Fred from doing a lot of shooting. He moved most of his force forward. Unfortunately for him, the Avatar was able to get into contact with the Thunderwolves, and he killed 2 of them on the charge, and they broke, but he caught them, so they're stuck in combat. The Wraithguard fired at the Thunderwolves but hadn't caused any wounds because of storm shields. The Falcon missed with every shot. The Rhino there is empty. His long fangs got pretty thoroughly decimated. They're down to just the Sergeant and the las cannon because the fire prisms linked their shots together, hit the unit in the open. They did have 5 up cover saves, and he made 2 of them. They wounded everyone on the shot, so we'll see how the rest of this game goes. Here we are at the bottom of turn 2. I moved my forces forward. I got rid of the small Rhino that was in that area that had nothing in it. I killed about half of the squad holding that objective, and I managed to kill off another Thunderwolf, and the squad broke and ran away. Now they will automatically regroup. The Rangers actually managed to do a whole point worth of damage on the Rhino there. My Falcon, for the second consecutive turn, managed to miss with every single shot. So for those of you counting at home, that would be 6 shots from Strength 8 AP2 weapons that have not hit a single time. How awesome is Ballistic Skill 3? Okay, it's the end of the 3rd turn here. We did a little trade-off. The Avatar died. He got brought down in assault by the Thunderwolves, and then the Thunderwolves got killed by the Wraithguard. And other than that, the Rangers that were here got flambéed to death. The commander passed a few lookout sir rolls, and his unit has suffered 3 casualties. And I managed to do more damage to the troop unit over here holding this objective, and that's our turn so far. On to turn 4. For the turn 4 summation, I managed to drive the unit that was holding that objective on his side of the table off, and thanks to the suggestion from Clay, I tank shocked the, what were they, Grey Hunters? Blood Claws. Tank shocked the Blood Claws with the Falcon. They broke. They ran into the middle of the table, and then between shooting from the fire prisms and the jet bikes, I managed to wipe that unit out. And I also managed to put another whole point worth of damage on this Rhino, which is immobilized. He is holding my objective. I hope to take his soon. At the end of turn 5, I managed to do nothing to those long fangs there, but I did move on to the objective. The fire prisms did a good amount of damage to the unit that had been right there holding it, along with the jet bikes and the Falcon. I managed to do enough wounds that they failed their break test on an 11 and ran away. And now we see if the game continues. We'll die 6 on a 3 if it continues. Continues. Okay, at the end of the game, we are calling it. Actually, I'm sorry. It's 8 to nothing. 8 to nothing. Fred, good game.
So here we are, doing a 1,500 point game this time. My Iyanden Eldar with allies versus the Space Wolves. Bringing along some Dark Eldar friends. It's my HQs. I've got an Archon with a Gym Blade, Clone Field, Ghost Plate armor. And where is the star of the match? Uriel, Autarch of Iyanden. He is my warlord. He's got 20 strong squad of Storm Guardians. The Warlock with Conceal. Or not Conceal. It's got Enhance. So hopefully that should bring some much needed combat power to bolster the squad. Got a Wraith Lord in heavy support with Eldar missile launcher, scatter laser, along with 4 strong squad of Dark Reapers, Eldar missile launcher, and fast shot on the Exarch. Fast attack. I've got my brand new Viper with scatter laser and shuriken cannon. And troops, along with the Storm Guardians, I've got a 9 strong squad of Dire Avengers, Shimmer Shield and Power Weapon on the Exarch. Got a 5 strong squad of Dire Avengers, Dire Sword and Shuriken Pistol on the Exarch. We've got a squad of Dark Eldar Warriors that are not yet painted for the most part. We've got a squad leader with Power Sword. And we've got a Dark Lance and a Shredder. We've also got a squad of Witches, which are also not painted yet. A squad leader with an Agonizer, got a Shardnet Impaler, and somewhere in there is some Hydra Gauntlets as well. We've also got in the elite slot, Howling Banshees, 6 strong squad, Exarch with Mirror Swords. And that is my list. There's a lot of soft bodies, only 1 Wraith unit. It's an entirely change of pace. I'm not so convinced it'll do well, considering the Guardians, but we'll see what happens.
Here's the setup for Clay's mixed Iyanden and Dark Eldar force versus Fred's Space Wolves. Once again, he has Shining Spears standing in for the Thunder Wolves because he left his at home. Clay has won the first turn, and Fred, are you going to attempt to seize the initiative?
I should hope so. I mean, unless you don't want to.
Sure.
Okay.
Do I need to roll
A 6. Oh, so close. And we'll be starting off the game with Clay moving his army across the table and sees the relic.
We've concluded our first turn, and I've moved my entire army forward. I've got a bit of a Eldar Horde army going on right now. Meanwhile, the Space Wolves have consolidated on the other side of the objective. Right here, we're playing a relic mission. And I lost 3 bodies. He lost 1. It's night fight first turn, so very little was accomplished. Hopefully we'll see some real casualties in turn 2, and I'm sure we will. Bottom of turn 2, we are still in night fight for this turn. We'll be going into turn 3, however, and maybe it'll go away. My forces all advanced up again. My Storm Guardians had claimed the objective, but as you can see, Space Marines got out of their rhinos. One of them was wrecked, and that unit was pinned, which was interesting. However, the other unit got out, went into the mysterious jungle, which turned out to be full of razor wings. However, he moved below the distance that would have triggered them, so he was fine. And he shot up some of my Guardians, which ended up dropping the objective again. The Wraith Lord that popped the Rhino was charged by Thunderwolf cavalry that mysteriously looked like shining spears. And he took a wound. He's down to 1 wound. Unfortunately, he survived combat. I was hoping that it would die so I would be able to shoot the Thunderwolves and charge them. But it's looking like he'll get a free move out after he finishes the Wraith Lord during my close combat phase. Meanwhile, my Viper was immobilized by the Long Fangs, and the Space Wolves over here, they got out of their transport. I used to have a Witch squad here, but now there is only an Archon with 1 wound left. Beyond that, I actually didn't kill that much. I do have 3 Dire Avengers left. I lost 2. And so we're moving on to turn 3. Let's see if Night Fight continues. Okay, bottom of turn 3. We've gone through another turn. Night Fight finally dissipated. The cloud of Space Wolves has descended upon my innocent Eldar, resulted in a severe massacre. My Banshees made it in with the Blood Claws in the mysterious forest, and they promptly got massacred after the charge. My swarm of Storm Guardians with Uriel, they made it into combat with the other squad of tactical Marine Grey Hunters, and they managed to take them out while getting charged by the Thunderwolves, which escaped from the clutches of the Wraith Lord and the Dire Avenger squad that you no longer see on the table. Uriel bit it after taking a bunch of saves. He did fairly well, but he didn't do any damage. He did not inflict a single wound. My Viper is dead. The Archon, the Dire Avengers are no longer there either. And my fire base is starting to take wounds. I have very little left. I foresee this being a potential tabling, but we'll have to see what happens. I think the Space Wolves are doing fairly well. Onwards to turn 4. Turn 4 has come to pass, and the massacre continues. Miraculously, my Storm Guardians managed to take down 2 of the Thunderwolves. Unfortunately, at the bottom of turn 4, I whiffed. He took out some, and I was forced to fall back. His remaining troop unit is consolidating with his commander. They were moving to assist with killing the Storm Guardians, but they've already fled. My little fire base here has been pulverized. I lost my Dark Lance in the Warrior squad due to a failed Death or Glory. And my Dark Reapers were shot to pieces. Failed a morale check with the Exarch, being the only one left. He has since fled, and the chances of regrouping are minimal. Meanwhile, his Long Fangs are both still standing, with little to contribute at this point. We'll see if he can claim the objective in turn 5 and decisively take control of the game. So it's the bottom of turn 5. My units have continued fleeing off the board. Dark Reaper's almost there. And his remaining troop has consolidated to capture the relic. They're now holding on to it. And my remaining Dark Eldar warriors attempted to fend off the Thunderwolves. They're still in combat, but only 2 remain. He took a wound on one of his remaining wolves in the dangerous terrain test to charge. Beyond that, very little has happened. I have almost nothing left, but we will roll now to see if the game ends and my torment is over. To 4, the game continues. Now we move on to turn 6. It was a very quick turn. Only lasted the top of the turn. Thunderwolves have, as you can see, wiped out the remainder of my Dark Eldar warriors. My 2 remaining units that were fleeing have officially left the board. I am now tabled. And the Space Wolves have won the day with 3 points there, and 4 for the Warlord being taken out.
And 1 for the line breakers.
I don't think that is. Oh wait, no.
Yeah, because
it is. You're correct. So 4 for line breakers. So 5 victory points to 1. Good game.
So Fred, these are your first 2 games of 6th edition. And what were your thoughts?
There are definitely some things about 6th edition that make it interesting. It'll be. I like to see how the psychic rules play out in a game where I don't have to go up against Eldar.
I didn't use any.
Yes, but somebody I know always likes to take the runes of "you're not using any powers now."
Yeah, that makes it rough.
I don't know what you're talking about. Clay, this is your first time using allies with the Dark Eldar. What are your thoughts?
It was fun. I liked the entirely new dimension of being able to take another army along with yours, even though they stunk the place up. My witches and my Archon got massacred by a squad with bolters and flamers. Of course, I was a bit too aggressive, perhaps. My army didn't really cater to their speciality, and I didn't bring any transports. But I wanted to try a different army list type, and it was fun, even if I did get tabled.
You just got an invite to the barbecue as the roast of honor.
Oh.
One too many puns there. There were a lot of flamers in the game that went back and forth. My Storm Guardians killed 2 Thunder Wolves. It's pretty impressive.
Yes. That was the most embarrassing part of the game for me. I should have just run over them.
Yeah, you did eventually.
Now, you lost the first match, but what was your unit of the match in the first match?
Everybody's new favorite or least favorite, depending what side of the Space Wolves you're on, probably be the Thunder Wolves.
Okay, even though I did wipe them out in the first game.
Yes, but they definitely made an impact taking out your avatar and doing a little bit of extra damage before you finally took them down.
Yes. And the second game?
I gotta go with the Thunder Wolves again. Cleared out a Wraith Lord, took out Uriel, did a number on a Guardian squad.
You killed the Dire Avenger squad, too. You
Yeah,
killed the Warrior squad.
Alright, I took out half his army almost.
Now, what are your thoughts on the Thunderwolf miniatures?
When I can afford them, I will.
Fair enough.
And
Dan, what
yes.
was your unit of the match in your first game?
My unit of the match for my game against Fred would be the 2 Fire Prisms.
That's 2 units.
It is 2 units, but most of the time I use them as a single unit firing together, and that's how I cleared out most of his units. So they were essentially 1 unit most of the game.
What would be your unit of the match for your game?
My unit of the match would be none of them because they all sucked and died. If I were to go with something, it would have to be the Storm Guardians, but they still underperformed because the unit was like 215 points for it, and they killed Attack Squad. They killed 2 of the Thunder Wolves.
That was impressive.
That was
I've got to
impressive,
say.
but that was completely against odds, and it didn't make a difference in the end. They still got butchered.
Yeah.
After that, they didn't inflict another single wound, but for how large they are in terms of point cost and unit size, very unwieldy. They don't pack any sort of punch. Even when I threw Uriel into the squad, Uriel bit it as soon as he had the opportunity to. And none of my other units did anything of note.
They needed Uriel to soak up a lot of wounds.
Well,
he
didn't even really make that much of a difference in the end. Yeah, he made some armor saves, but then again, until that point, I hadn't made any armor saves with the Storm Guardians otherwise. So they ended up taking a lot of damage that wasn't necessary. And they broke and ran in the end with 5 men left.
Offensively, Uriel did whiff against the wolves and fell to
That's
the thunder
also
hammer.
true. Yeah, he died fast enough. I was pleased actually that my Viper was able to make some shots. I got a Viper back in Christmas time. I finally assembled it and painted it. Well, it's mostly painted at least. Almost there. But it was nice to be able to use a different kind of unit. Beyond that, I got tabled. I got butchered. This kind of list, not a good idea.
So you're saying no to Eldar foot lists that aren't Wraithguard lists?
Not necessarily that aren't Wraithguard lists, but that are close combat hordes. Basically, the center of my line and the focus of everything were the Storm Guardians. Centering on Guardians, not a good idea unless they're sitting on objectives. Guardian Defenders sort of work because you can sit on an objective and you've got that heavy weapon. Storm Guardians, unless you're flying them around in Wave Serpents and you're using the special weapons, they really don't cut it.
Fred, since these were your first 2 games, what are your thoughts on the random elements that got incorporated?
Definitely think twice about going into a forest if you can get razor winged.
Anything about charges or...
I would rather charge than be charged.
That much has not changed.
That much will never change. Although it does add an element of concern when you can charge a 20-man unit and they get to shoot at you first.
Mm.
Even if they do need 6s to hit.
I didn't get to shoot at you though.
No, because you charged me.
Yeah. But then again, your flamers were much more useful because you had the threat of when you got charged, you had that overwatch, and the flamers got to contribute. Even if you didn't get to fire them offensively, you still get to fire when you're charged. So that's definitely a big boost. And bolters get 2 shots each. On Overwatch, 6s to hit. You're still going to take out a couple guys usually.
Yes, Space Wolf shooting is very impressive against charging units.
And Fred, one last thing, your thoughts on hull points?
This game, at least, they seem to add some survivability to the rhinos.
Mm-hmm.
Previous edition, they would drive up 2 turns and hope they make it that long. It's nice to actually have a couple rhinos still intact at the end of the game. Actually, it's downright weird.
I have to say, in my experience for 6, that is more weird than not.
Well, it doesn't hurt any that my opponent didn't take a whole lot of weapons.
Yeah, I didn't
to go
really
through.
have a lot of anti-tank, did I?
No.
No.
You got a Dark Reaper that died gloriously and
No, he was the one who didn't die. The warrior with the dark lance.
oh, the Darklands.
He
yes.
failed. Yeah, he didn't do so hot.
Yeah.
Did he
Took
hit a
tank
single
shock
time?
head on and
He
no.
hit twice, but he rolled 1s for penetration, just like he did on the Death or Glory. So
At least he was
yeah.
consistent. Consistently bad, but consistent.
Yes, I can always rely on not being able to rely on it.
Speaking of consistently bad, your Long Fangs had a hard time the first game. How were they in the second game?
More effective the second game. At the end, they decided to start shooting at the ground again.
You didn't have much to shoot at in the end, really.
Yeah, well, they just were going to let the Thunderwolves clean everything up. And surprisingly enough, it worked. The Thunderwolves were hungry, and Eldar and Dark Eldar were good food.
Well, I'm glad something good came out of that game.
All right, well, that's going to be it for this issue. So wrapping up, say goodbye.
Bye.
See you guys later.
Bye.
I swear I'm gonna beat the living shit out of Dan. He doesn't know how to play this game. Oh, we're filming. Okay.